Chapter 619, Chronicles. Franca strained her eyes, attempting to discern the figure amidst the dimly lit surroundings. The tall buildings loomed mysteriously, their outlines blending with the fog, reminiscent of stars reflecting on a foggy night. In the distance, lights flickered, accompanied by indistinct honking sounds. Franca's pupils dilated, and her eyes widened in astonishment. Her heart, previously gripped by the effects of Nabordisley's frenzied curse, now surged with shock. Instinctively, she focused all her might on the figure, trying to pierce through the layers of gray fog and unravel its face and clothing. However, the thin fog grew hazier, dissipating along with the fleeting images it carried. In just 3 to 4 seconds, the mirror on the altar reverted to its normal state. "What's wrong?" Lumion turned to Floris, who lingered in the residual gray fog, seeking an update on Franca's condition. Franca, still captivated by the mirror, fell silent for a moment before speaking. "Did you see the scene reflected in the mirror?" "I did," Lumion reflected briefly and suggested. "Perhaps it signifies Mr. Fool's divine kingdom." Their prayers for the exorcism spell had been directed towards Mr. Fool. Therefore, the mirror used to deceive Nabordisley, while being ineffective in actuality, was likely related to Mr. Fool. Franca stammered, but the backdrop resembles the city before your sister and I transmigrated. It's like those foggy times, every building morphing into colossal creatures nestled in the fog, adorned with countless glowing eyes." Lumion, understanding Franca's emotions, showed no surprise at the familiar street scenes. Reminding his companion, he said, "Don't forget about the celestial worthy. He has a close connection to your homeland, and he and Mr. Fool have been engaged in a dream battle. It's quite conceivable that such dreamscapes can manifest in reality through rituals." Franca fell into a momentary silence before releasing a sigh. "You're right." She followed with a self-deprecating laugh. "I got worked up for nothing." Lumion mitigated the negative effects from Nabordisley and methodically extinguished the candle flames, concluding the ritual. As Franca dispelled the wall of spirituality and the wind howled, clearing away the lingering gray fog, Floris seemed to snap back to reality, no longer lost in the confusion of searching for an exit. However, upon seeing Lumion and Franca, his face turned an even more pallid shade. Just as he was about to plead for mercy, a sharp pain shot through Floris's body. Instinctively, he lowered his head and observed a black, almost ethereal, filthy liquid oozing from his body. Highly corrosive, it swiftly dissolved his blood, flesh, and bones. "No. Save me. Save me." Floris unleashed a blood-curdling scream, repeatedly calling for help. Lumion, however, observed with interest, as though studying the toll exacted on those who made a deal with demons. In less than 10 seconds, Floris's body succumbed to corrosion, collapsing with a resounding crash, immersed in the almost illusory black liquid. Floris's head continued to wail, his voice gradually fading. After a while, he breathed his last with wide-open eyes. His relatively intact head swiftly disintegrated into the filthy liquid. The once illusory liquid lost its evil, mystical aura, revealing the remains of the corpse, now filled with a foul, noxious mud-like substance. Dealing with demons doesn't end well, Franca sighed, reflecting on her earlier temptation. Her laughter echoed hollowly as she continued. "Thankfully, we didn't strike a deal with that self-proclaimed ancient demon. Still, I missed an opportunity to eliminate the latent threat of using the authority holder's under-the-table transaction." Lumion chuckled and remarked, "Consider this carefully. I remember Madam Magician's usage instructions, emphasizing the possibility of encountering transactions with evil entities like demons. Recall, it was about encountering a transaction, not completing one. You've faced it, you simply chose not to accept it. That fellow didn't force you either." Franca contemplated the situation and admitted, "You make a point. It does seem that way." She clicked her tongue and glanced at Lumion. "If you had chosen the lawyer path, you might be equally promising. In reality, I believe that's the norm. The authority holder's under-the-table transaction is, at most, equivalent to a sequence 5. Every use means one less opportunity. How could the negative effects be a transaction with a demon? From what I know, demon is a high sequence term within the criminal path. What does it signify? It represents a demigod. Yes, it's merely encountering a transaction, not completing it. There's room for negotiation. Yet, it's also highly dangerous. Demons and other evil entities aren't known for their philanthropy. If we refuse to trade with them, why would they spare us indefinitely? Furthermore, predicting when we'll encounter them is impossible, making it challenging to prepare in advance. Lumion smiled. If you can't predict it, try approaching it differently. After using the authority holders under the table transaction, immediately prepare and take the initiative to create an opportunity to negotiate with demons and other evil creatures. Set the pace and manage the risks. For instance, invite demons to St. Vive Cathedral for a deal. The Eternal Blazing Sun Church's main cathedral in Trier, St. Vive Cathedral. Franca chuckled. Demons aren't brainless zombies. Why would they willingly walk into St. Vive Cathedral to meet their doom? Franca suddenly halted. St. Vive Cathedral might not be suitable, but they did have a few hidden locations with a similar atmosphere. It wasn't entirely impossible. For example, the sacrificial square on the third level of the catacombs, Chrismona Night Pillar. That's an interesting idea, Franca commended Lumion. In the past, when facing the negative effects of mystical items, we always endured and waited passively. Taking the initiative is a different approach. Hunters indeed have their own unique styles. Taking the initiative involved making preparations in advance and minimizing potential dangers. Of course, taking the initiative didn't necessarily mean triggering the effects, but it required considering such possibilities. Lumion glanced out the window. Floris's scream has likely attracted the attention of the nearby residents. Someone may have called the police. Let's vacate this place before examining the contents of this notebook. He gathered the ancient notebook, candles, and other items from the dining table as he spoke. Agreed. Franca surveyed the room, and dark flames silently ignited in various spots. As the flames flickered, Lumion teleported Franca away, returning to the guest room of Captain Pedro's 5-story house. Go through the notebook and check if there's a way to dispel the love incantation. I'll verify Sala's condition and inform Pedro about Floris's situation and outcome. He can handle the Church of Earth Mother and liaise with the local police. Lumion handed the ancient notebook to Franca before opening the door and stepping into the corridor. Franca settled into the recliner and opened the notebook. Suddenly, she murmured to herself, something feels off. Knowing Lumion's approach, shouldn't he have immediately perused the notebook after the ritual, searching for a solution to dispel the love incantation? Why did he hastily leave the moment the police were mentioned after discussing matters with me extensively? He should be aware of the critical issue. As these thoughts raced through her mind, Franca suddenly came to a moment of realization. Nabordisley's chilling rants and wild curses had a disturbing impact on Lumion, stirring up his desires and emotions. Despite his attempts to endure the onslaught using his ascetic powers, subtle signs of struggle manifested. Franca's eyes darted around, a sly chuckle escaping her lips. Lumion found Pedro in the small living room on the first floor. Before he could delve into Floris's situation, the captain exclaimed in surprise. Mr. Barry, Sala came to me a few minutes ago. She was crying in fear and pain, saying she dreamt of falling in love with Floris and couldn't wake up. However, she suddenly woke up tonight, feeling like it was a nightmare, and she wishes to annul the engagement. May I know how you did it? Pedro spoke with a touch of unconscious politeness. She's back to normal? Could it be because Floris is dead? No, more likely Nabordisley's expulsion through the exorcism spell has restored those affected by the devil to normal. Lumion guessed, smiling. Floris is already dead. Did you kill him? Pedro, showing no aversion to the idea of killing, was even more intrigued by the fact that Floris's death seemed to have awakened his daughter. A demon killed him. Lumion briefly recounted the events, avoiding mentioning Nabordisley by name. Instead, he handed Pedro the love incantation note tucked into an ancient notebook for a closer look. Finally, he said, "You handle the rest. It's advisable to keep Sala in a cathedral or cloister for the next month or two. I'm uncertain if the demon will revisit the former victim once he recovers. Understood. Pedro clenched his teeth, his expression somber. After receiving the 20,000 gold risot bounty, Lumion returned to his guest room. Franca, holding the ancient notebook, frowned as she said, "This doesn't seem like the notebook of an evil warlock. It's more like a collection of a novelty hunter's chronicles. It contains various legends of devils and demons from the northern and southern continents spanning the past 1,000 years. The last record appears to be over 100 years ago. There are peculiar incantations scattered within, as if fabricated. One of them mentions a legend of a demon on Hanth Island in the Berserk Sea." Lumion grasped Franca's concern. Nabordisley had mentioned that the demon descendant he sought to eliminate resided somewhere in the Berserk Sea.